world, established rich coming right back at you. Now, sometimes in this culture, somebody says something that makes you sit back and think about what you just heard. Not because it was funny, not because it was clever, but because it felt like the words were aimed directly at you. And that's exactly how I felt when I heard Corey Holcomb talking about YouTubers. When I heard him say people on this platform are like roaches running across the floor when the lights come on, I'm gonna be honest with you. I sat back for a second and thought, is he talking about me? Because I'm one of those people on this platform that talks about what's happening in the culture. I'm one of those people that turns on the camera and discusses stories that are trending in hip hop, entertainment, and black culture. And when somebody that you've been a fan of for years starts describing people in your lane like that, you have the right to respond. Not with hate, but with honesty. Because the first thing that needs to be said is this: not every YouTuber is a gossip channel. And I know that personally, because when I started doing this, my goal was never to destroy people. My goal was never to call people out their names. My goal was never to make up stories to chase views. My goal was to talk about what's happening in the culture and give an intelligent opinion about it. Now, that opinion may not be something everybody agrees with, but there's a big difference between discussion and disrespect. And that distinction is important when you hear somebody say that people on this platform are just failed men using other people's success for views. Because when I heard that, I thought about something. This platform has millions of people on it. Millions. Teachers, veterans, business owners, fans of the culture who simply want a place to talk about the things they see. And I'm one of those people. I ain't come here because I failed at life. I came here because I love this culture. The music, the conversations, the people who shaped it. And yes, sometimes the controversies that happen within it. Now, before we go any further, I want you to actually hear what Corey had to say, because I don't want to misrepresent somebody's words.
But there are men in this world who, no matter what they do, they keep flopping. And they will put effort into trying to put up the picture of those who are popping. And most of them shame you. They shame you because this is their chance in life to do or say something about somebody that's popping. Because to be popping out here, it's just not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. It is scary thinking about trying to get to the level where it's popping for you. Some of us put in work, some of us have fortune. See, I root for entertainers, people that you can cut on and see something that's worth watching. Gossiping men are the same thing as 15 roaches run across the kitchen floor when you cut the light on. There's no different than them. Roaches running across the floor when you cut the light on, because I come from that, and gossipy men are the same thing. And when I say gossipy men, I'm talking about men who sit around literally do nothing but gossip about everybody who popping. I'm watching everything that's happening on the internet. I was talking about how negative my algorithm is. It's a lonely, lonely world, and some of these guys, you can tell they don't have that it, where when they're in the world, they can pull the type of beautiful things that somebody who popping can pull. Let me make sure I say that right. There are men in this world who can come out in two-tone cowboy hats and still win.
Now, when you listen to that, you can hear the frustration in his voice, but you can also hear the assumptions being made. The assumption is that every person who talks about the culture online is doing it because they failed at something else. But if you think about it, what is the difference between a comedian discussing topics on his show and a YouTuber discussing topics on their platform? Corey Holcomb talks about relationships, celebrities. He talks about people in the culture. He gives his opinion on what he thinks they doing right or wrong, and he does it in his own style, which is what many of us do here on YouTube. So if that type of conversation is acceptable on a comedy podcast, why is it suddenly a problem when somebody else does it on YouTube? That's the question I had to ask myself when I heard those comments. Because again, I've been a fan of Corey for years. I have always thought he was one of the real voices in comedy. I've always thought he deserved a bigger spotlight. So this ain't coming from a place of hate. This is coming from a place of honest conversation. But what really caught my attention is when he said negativity is a business for YouTubers. Because that statement is, one, partially true. Yes, there are channels that chase drama and negativity. There are channels that thrive on shock titles and chaos. But there are also channels that actually try to have thoughtful conversations about the culture. Channels that try to present information first and opinion second. Channels that don't call people out their names and don't try to destroy somebody just to go viral. And that's the type of channel I've always tried to run. which is why when I heard those words, it felt personal. Not because I think everything he said was about me, but because I know there are a lot of creators like me who try to approach this platform with a different energy. And the conversation didn't stop with the first moment, because Corey didn't just say one thing about YouTubers. His criticism got even stronger. Now, after the moment happened, a lot of people thought it would just die down. But that didn't happen because Corey didn't walk back what he said. In fact, he kept talking about it. He kept doubling down on his belief that a lot of YouTubers who cover stories in the culture are basically just people using other people's problems to build a channel. And again, when you hear something like that, you have to pause and ask yourself a question. Is that really what everybody on the platform is doing? Because if we being honest, we know that ain't everybody. Because a lot of people don't turn on their camera to try to destroy somebody. My goal is just to break down what happened and then just give my opinion on it. Sometimes my thoughts are gonna be agreed with, sometimes they won't. But that's what a conversation is. And if we gonna be honest, every form of media does the same thing. Radio, podcasters, comedians, talk shows, they all do it. People discuss stories that happen in the culture and then they give their opinion. That's been happening long before YouTube ever existed. The only difference now is that regular people have access to the microphone too. And that change in media is something a lot of people are still adjusting to.
And when something happened where they finally think you down, the gossipy bitch motherfuckers go in there like some candy corn on the kitchen floor in a neighborhood that's bad, like the roaches do. This is what my algorithm is about. I don't like watching all the gossipy men talk crazy about everybody that they think they can talk about. I just don't understand how but look, attention. There are some people who would not have no attention. The 92 people who watch their video gives them the drive to keep talking because somebody's listening. I get it, it's a lonely world. But I just don't like the way the roaches, because that's what they are, love to go in on everybody who done had it popping or got it popping. You talk about them when the bad come because you're algorithm whores. What else is in the news? I'm leaving something out. I'm really should not be leaving out, but I'm just using examples of how these roaches, algorithm whores, never will have it popping. Look how they built.
Negativity.
Look how they face look. You could tell they never had it popping. Never.
And it's a new
The most
thing.
poppinest they ever had, I'm sorry, D,
No, it's okay.
is when they get on there and talk shit about the boss motherfuckers. Go ahead, D, I'm
Right,
sorry.
no, I'm saying, and this is what it is nowadays. It's like you're giving people who probably never, ever have made it onto, like, let's say I don't want to say the particular news outlet,
yeah.
but I'm just saying a show. They would have never made it on a show other than having the internet. So when
Listen to
the internet was a beast when it came out, because it gave people that were just trapped in, like, what they say, basements, trolls. It gave people
But the
that would have
roaches
never...
who don't know people, listen.
Now, when you hear that clip, you can hear the level of disdain he has for people in this space. But here's the thing that really needs to be said. Not everybody on YouTube is here for money. And I know that may sound crazy in an era where people think everything is about monetization. But it's true. Some people are really here because they love having a voice. Some people are here because they love talking about the culture they grew up in. Some people are here because they want to add their perspective to the conversation. And that don't make them roaches. That doesn't make them failures. That makes them participants in the same cultural discussion that has been happening in barbershops, radio stations, and living rooms for decades. And here's the part that really made me think about this whole situation. When Corey talks about people using other people's stories, what exactly is his show about? He talks about relationships. He talks about celebrities. He gives his opinion on what they're doing, right or wrong, which is the same thing many commentary channels do. So if one form is valid, why is the other one being automatically dismissed as gossip? Like I said, I've been a fan of Corey. I've always respected his honesty. I've always respected the way he speaks his mind. But when you speak your mind about a group of people, those people have a right to speak back. Not with disrespect, but with perspective. Because the reality is, Black YouTube is not one thing. It is thousands of different voices, thousands of different channels, thousands of different people trying to add their thoughts to the culture. Some do it well, some don't. But that's true of every platform, every industry, every space where human beings are involved. So maybe the real conversation here is not whether YouTubers should talk about stories in the culture. Maybe the real question is how we talk about them, with respect, with fairness, and with the understanding that everybody who's participating in this culture is doing it from their own perspective. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.